In this video, you're going to learn fraction of set. But before we get started, imagine you just received your keys for your HDB flat. But a cool fact is that inside HDB policy, that 1/10 or 1 out of 10 of the units should be for Indians race or Indian people. So an average HDB flat has 100 units. So this is a simple question. Average, there is 100 units per HDB flat, and the policy is to have 1/10 of the total units for Indians. How many units are for Indians? And this question is a fraction of set. So, in this question, what do you think is the fraction? If you saw the fraction 1 out of 10, then you are right. What about the set? Which one is the set in this math question? If you say 100 units, you are right. So the thing is that what is a set? So a set is essentially a group of similar things. So for example, a set of cars is basically, you have different types of cars, but this is what we call a group or a set of cars. Same thing with a set of HDB units. So you have a couple of HDB units inside one HDB flat. So in this question, so how do we solve this math question? Basically, we need to calculate the unit for Indians. So we have 1 out of 10, which is the fraction, and we have 100 units, which is the set. So basically, it will look something like this, where we have 1 out of 10 multiplied by 100. So what we need to do is to put our 100 as a fraction. So 100 is basically the same as 100 out of 1. So we can simplify it. So we can see the common factor between 110. Both of them can be divided by 10. So we have 100 divided by 10, and we have the 10 in the denominator to be divided by 10. And since these are easy to divide, we can just remove the zeros as what you see over here. And it will look something like this, where you have 1 multiplied by 10. And since the denominator are the same, then we can just put it as is, and this gives us 10. And that is an easy win. So let's try another example. So you can take out your paper and pencils or pen and write down what the workings and the answer for this question, which is what is 3 out of 4 or 3/4 of 32. Once you're done, you can unpause the video to see if you got it right. Okay, so when you see the word of, basically you can just swap it or switch it to the multiplication sign. So it's 3 out of 4 multiplied by 32. And this will look something like this, where 32 as a fraction will look something like this, where it's 32 out of 1. So if 3 out of 4 multiplied by 32. So can we see any common denominator, common numbers or common factors between the denominator and numerator? If you say 4 and 32 has some common factor, then you are right. So we can have 32 divided by 4. So we can simplify it. So we can divide 32 with 4 and 4 divided by 4. And this will give us 8 and 1. And since both of the denominators are 1, then it's pretty easy. So what we can do is we can simplify even further to be like this. So you can have 3 multiplied by 8 out of 1 times 1. And this gives us 24. If you got 24, congratulations. Otherwise, no worries. You can just go through this video again. And that is an easy win. All right, so let's move on to another example. And this is where we will do the same HDB example, but this time we want to calculate how many units are for Chinese race people. So you can pause this video, write down your workings, and unpause this video to see if you got it correct. Okay, let's go through the answer. So we need to know how many units are for Chinese people. So we need to calculate the fractions first. So we know that a HDB unit or the total unit, we can represent it as 1. And then we can minus off the total units from the Indians, which is 1 out of 10, and from the Malays, which is 2 out of 10. So 1 is basically, if you represent it with the common denominator, it is what out of 10? It is 10 out of 10. If you say 10 out of 10, you're right. So you have 10 out of 10 minus 1 out of 10 minus 2 out of 10. Since we have the common denominator, then what we can do is we can just minus off the numerators as what we see over here. So it's 10 minus 1 minus 2. So if you do some simple subtraction, then it will be equal to 7 out of 10. And that is the first step. So the second step is, since we know how many units are for Chinese in terms of fractions, we still need to get the total number of units. So we have a total of 220. So what we can do is we can have 7 out of 10 of 220 units, but in this case it's 7 out of 10 multiplied by 220 units. And the thing is that we represent the 220 units as a fraction first, and then can we see a numerator and denominator from each other that has a common factor? If you say 20, 220 and 10 has a common factor of 10, you're right. So what we can do is we can divide it and simplify it by 10, as what you see over here. So 10 and 222, if you have division by 10, you can just simply remove the zeros, as what you see over here. And it will look something like this. Since we have a common denominator, then we can just focus on the numerator, which is 7 times 22. And do you know what 7 times 22? If your answer is 288, then you are right. And that is an easy win. So now you know how to answer fraction or set questions. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want more of this kind of videos, subscribe down below and comment down what other topics you want me to go through next. See you in the next one. Bye bye.